New Prague Public Transport Challenge. How not to lose 2,000 crowns while taking it. If you are planning your next trip to Prague, there's something you need to know about the public transport here. There were a lot of changes recently, and the biggest one was, of course, raising of the prices. So now, unfortunately, we have to pay more for Prague public transport. But don't worry, it's not that bad. So let's look at how much it costs now. So as you can see, the 30-minute ticket used to be 30 crowns. Now it is 39 crowns. 90-minute ticket used to cost 40 crowns. Now it's 50 crowns. And 24-hour ticket used to be 120, now it's 150 crowns. And 72-hour ticket used to be priced at 330 crowns, and now it's 350 crowns. So the prices rose by about 30%. But guess what? You can actually save money on buying tickets, because now we have different tiers for ticket prices, specifically for e-tickets, paper tickets and SMS tickets. So now the prices that I read you, these were for paper tickets, which are kind of the mid-tier in terms of the cost. But if you would buy them via app called PID Lízka, you would get different prices: 36 crowns, 46 crowns, 140 crowns and 340 crowns respectively. That's not that bad, right? I'm gonna talk about how to use PID Lízka app in a minute. And finally, the most expensive tickets are the SMS ones. They used to be a little bit pricier in the past as well, but now they're a lot pricier. So the 30-minute ticket now costs 42 crowns, 90-minute one is 55, 24-hour one is now 150, and 72-hour one is now 350 crowns. So that's, as you can see, not such a good deal anymore, and we actually don't recommend you buy SMS tickets. They're also less convenient because you have to write the whole message in the SMS, send it, and then wait for the reply. You cannot use them immediately. So just forget about the SMS. Who has data in Prague anyway? No one. I mean, except 90% of people who travel here. So let's recap the cheapest and most convenient way of how to get a public transport ticket in Prague. And this is going to be via app called PID Lízka. Not sponsored, obviously. I'm gonna do it with you guys. So as you can see on the screen, you can either build your own route, we are not gonna do that, or buy a ticket. Here in the upper right corner, you have all the ticket types. Let's say we're going to be getting the 90-minute ticket. Here you can choose the number of tickets and also activation type. This is really important because you have to validate or activate even the electronic tickets if you buy them via app. If you are building your route, they can activate automatically, but I prefer to activate them later manually. That's the option that you can see over here. And after that, you just simply pay and activate your ticket. The activation takes a few minutes, so don't do it while you are already using public transport. Wait a few moments and then enter public transport. Still, it can happen that you have no data and you will be forced to buy a paper ticket. So let's talk about how to do it. First, you will need to find one of these yellow machines. They are usually located at the entrances to metro platforms or tram stops, but don't rely on finding them at every tram stop. It's kind of rare nowadays. Most of them are in the metros. So how do you do it? Here you click start and you need to now choose the ticket that you need. These are the tickets that we were describing before, except you can also buy a ticket for luggage and your pet here. If you are a senior 65 and older, you can use Prague public transport for free. You just need to present a valid ID if the ticket control stops you. Kids of 14 years old and younger can use Prague public transport for free. All right, let's do it again. So I will go with a 30-minute ticket. It costs 39 crowns because it's a paper ticket, but if you buy it through the app, it's cheaper, right? But we are buying it here. I'll be using coins, guys, because you can also use your card, but I want to show how to do it with coins, right? Plus, it is more satisfying that way because you can hear this nice sound. Oh, did not accept that one. Let's try again. And it didn't go through again. The secret trick that Václav shared with me. You scratch the coin here if it doesn't go through and you try it again. And it didn't work. I'll scratch it even more. Oh, it stopped working midway. Well, that's a lesson that I will learn now. Cancel the transaction. Okay, it sounds like I received my money back. This is how you would do it if the machines would actually work. I hope the card is gonna work. It was accepted. Am I gonna receive a ticket? Ah, here it is. We got it, guys. Last year, more than 260,000 people were fined by the Prague ticket inspectors, all because they made one of these mistakes. Let's talk about them. Mistake number 1, not even getting a ticket. What were they even thinking? Right, we need to keep those pretty trams clean. So no, Prague public transport is not for free. If you don't see anyone buying a ticket or doing anything while they enter metro, for example, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a valid ticket on you. But buying a ticket is not enough, because this one I bought like 3 minutes ago. I can use it tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. So if the ticket inspector stops me and the ticket is not stamped, then it means that you are getting a fine. So not validating your ticket is the next biggest mistake tourists can make here. Mistake number 3 is not validating this ticket correctly. As you can see over here, there's this empty part where the arrow points. That's the part that you insert in one of these yellow machines located inside of trams or buses or at the entrance to the metro escalators, and then you hear this pleasant sound. And that means that you validated your ticket. You will then see the time and date stamp. So if you got 30-minute ticket, for example, you have 30 minutes to get wherever you need to be. And that brings me to our next mistake, validating it on the wrong side. That's not correct. There's only one place where you can validate the ticket, and that's this part over here. And the last mistake is validating your ticket more than once, because you can only do it once. Some people think that you have to stamp your ticket every single time you enter Prague public transport, but that's not correct. And if the ticket inspector sees that you did that, you're getting a fine as well. Fines are not pleasant either. Starting from January 1st, 2026, the fines were raised up to 2,000 crowns per person. So if you delay paying your fine, you will lose 2,000 crowns. That was so painful. But if you pay your fine immediately when the ticket inspector stops you, it is lowered to 1,200 crowns. That's pretty bad, but not so bad anymore. If you pay the fine within the first 15 days after the issue, it will be 1,500 crowns. And if you pay it after 15 days, well, you are losing 2k. Being fined for not having a ticket or validating it incorrectly sucks, but it's kind of expected, right? What is a real bummer is when you get a fine while you're standing in a line to buy tickets. What's that about? I'm talking about the notorious tourist tram scam. Countless of people complaining online that they were fined while they were about to buy tickets on a tram. So how does this work? So what happens is that a person gets on a tram and is preparing to buy a ticket on a tram in one of these yellow machines where you can pay by card and the ticket would be active immediately. But sometimes those machines are out of order, or there's a person in front of them, or they cannot find the machine immediately. And that stalling time can be used by the ticket controller to prove that they did not have a ticket, because unfortunately that's correct, right? So that's when ticket controllers might fine you. It is a bit of a gray zone, of course, which is why a lot of tourists were upset about it, and they actually thought that they were scammed by some random crooks in the bright daylight. But it was not the case for a lot of people. They were really just fined by the regular ticket controllers. So this is again why I don't recommend buying tickets on a tram, because you never know when the controller might try to fine you. Arguing with them doesn't help either, because they can be quite pushy and even aggressive. So please leave it as the last resort option for getting a ticket. Rather get them via app or buy a paper one in advance. And last but definitely not least, some safety tips for you using Prague public transport. First and foremost, don't jump in front of a tram. I know that a sane person wouldn't do that, but a lot of people think that trams would stop for them when they're crossing a road, for example. That's not always the case unless you have a traffic light, because trams have the the right of way in Prague. So be careful. Second tip is very similar. When you are at a tram stop and let's say you found out that you actually need to take a tram from a different side, please look left and right first because trams don't slow down. Another safety tip for you guys is actually hold on to something. Hold on to a bar or to a seat while you are on the public transport because of the unexpected turns or stops. A lot of tourists don't know about it and they fall. The worst trams for that are the ones that have levels, and I've seen it myself a couple times when a person stood on the upper level and then the tram broke suddenly and they just flew down. But fortunately they were okay and knew how to fall, relax their muscles and went with it. But it doesn't happen always that it ends well. Be careful about it. Next tip is about pickpockets. It is pretty a rare occurrence, but it still can happen. Happens very frequently to people who go party all night and then they fall asleep on the tram and wake up without their wallet. But it can also happen in the broad daylight on a metro, tram or bus. If you don't keep your bag in front of you or if it's fully opened, then unfortunately it can be too much of a tease for the pickpockets. Don't do this while using Prague public transport. Don't block the doors. If you're about to get on, stand on the side of the door and let other passengers exit first and then get in. And if you are already inside, don't stand too close to the door and block it for others. Or if you have to, because the tram, for example, is too packed, you first have to get off, let everyone exit, and then get back on. If you're wearing a bulky backpack, please take it off when you get on the public transport. You don't want to hit anyone with it because you might knock some grandma over and she will strangle you on the floor of a tram, and you don't want to die in Prague just like that. Or if you want to receive a Darwin Award, go ahead. And try your luck. If you have a stroller or if you're using a wheelchair, you have to signal to the driver that you need more time to get on by waving. Some trams are not accessible, for example, so the driver will have to get out and prepare a little platform for you to get on the tram. It is very important because we don't want to separate mothers from their children when they just push the stroller inside and then the tram door closes and the tram leaves. That's really terrible. I've seen it happening. There was always a lot of tears and a lot of screaming. Nobody wants to traumatize kids and parents like that. Now to the biggest pet peeve of all Praguers. Don't block the left side of the escalator. This is the lane that people take if they are rushing somewhere. So they're usually running down. So if you stand in their way, they might push you downstairs and jump over you and then run to work. Who knows? It is not necessarily a strict rule. It is not written anywhere. That's kind of an unspoken rule in Prague that we leave the left side of the escalators for people who need to run down or run up. If you want to find out more unspoken rules in Prague, watch this video. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that we give up our seats for the elderly, children, and anyone who would need a seat, really. So if you see that there is a person who got in on the public transport and they look like they need to sit down, you have to give up your seat for them. Some seats are specifically designated for people, let's say, with mobility issues, so you also have to keep that in mind. When you're using Prague public transport, you will notice that people don't really talk loud or yell or listen to music loudly, and that's kind of an unspoken rule as well. People try to stay quiet. In fact, someone might scold you if you, let's say, speak on the phone and you are very loud about it. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. We hope you liked our update because there were a lot of things that changed about Prague public transport. Some things, of course, remained the same, but if you are here for the first time, it's very important to remember them because who the hell wants to pay 2,000 crowns to the ticket controllers, for example? Absolutely no one. No one. That would ruin your vacation and we don't want that. Alright, see you guys in Prague. Bye!